Hi, good evening everyone. So today is our Facebook Live about Better Sex, Better Life again. And you can see we are back again at Satya Alam with our Amsala chair together with Jasmine. I always love, having Facebook Live with Jasmine because we have so much of things to learn. So today, I think this is quite an interesting topic because I think in today's world, a lot of people are facing this. We are talking about toxic relationship. Okay, so what do you mean by toxic relationship?
Yeah, so toxic relationship, I mean, this term is something very personal for me because I've been in various toxic relationships, whether it be friendship or romantic relationship. So when we say toxic relationship, it's just basically relationship that are unhealthy.
Okay.
It's unhealthy to your mind, to your body, to your soul. It really like disturbs you. You can't function because this person is constantly lingering around your brain, around your head, around your vicinity. And for sometimes also, like, it can be very abusive as well. Like it could be mentally abusive, it could be physically abusive. Yeah, so these are sort of the definition of toxic. It's unhealthy relationship that has gone really unhealthy and really bad.
Okay, so this can be with your parents, with your friends, with your partner, with your children.
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe can you give us some example of unhealthy relationship or toxic relationship in this love relationship?
Yeah, in a romantic relationship, I think an example of a toxic or unhealthy relationship would be, if your partner were to ask you constantly, like, where are you going?
Okay.
Who are you going with?
Okay.
Is there a guy there? Do you love that guy? You want to leave me alone, is it?
Okay.
They're very manipulative.
Okay.
They really make you feel really guilty all the time. Every time when you want to go out, you always have to like jaga, you're just, I don't want to hurt. You're constantly walking on eggshells with this person. You're like, I don't want to hurt their feelings. I don't want to get into trouble. And there is a lack of sense of freedom that you have in this relationship. So
is it because of trust? Is it because of insecurity, or actually the person is just purely manipulative?
Could be a bit of all.
Okay.
I think that person probably has insecurity issues. Probably something happened to them in the past, or could be a bit of everything. I think insecurity and fear and all of that, if it's unhealthy, if it's too much of it, it can then become something bad, like someone who can be manipulative, someone who judges you constantly. So I think it's a bit of everything.
Yeah, I think if someone who is constantly judging you and not accepting who you are, it's really, really toxic, right?
Yeah.
Because you are just trying to to live your life by their terms, right? So you are just like what Jasmine said, you are constantly on eggshell, Yeah. Okay, so there are a lot of terms to explore nowadays, right? You heard people say ghosting, love bombing, gaslighting. So maybe you want to explain a little bit of these new terms. There's so many terms that I myself not aware of as well.
Yeah, I think these terms are very interesting and fascinating. I think all of these things happen even before there was a term, for example, ghosting. So ghosting is this act of sort of talking to that person and completely disconnect with that person. You don't talk to that person anymore. Imagine having this really nice sort of relationship, you getting to know this person. It can be someone you just knew, or someone that you've been in a long-term relationship with. I actually had a friend who was actually engaged.
Okay.
And then the partner just completely ghosted her.
Oh my God.
And so that was very, very upsetting.
You mean this person just disappeared?
This person just disappeared. I think doesn't want to return her calls, doesn't want to do anything. So probably they found another partner, who knows?
But engaged, this is not just casual dating, right?
Yeah, it's not just casual dating. So it was really unfortunate that happened. But hey, good for that partner, because then she knows.
But do you think this is also because of covert act? The person just can't have the courage to just break up with the person?
I think so. I think, we are really uncomfortable with situations that are uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Like, you don't want to have the heart you don't want to have hard conversations. You don't want to really approach that person. So the easiest way is just to ignore them, right? Besides ghosting, there is also breadcrumbing.
Okay.
So breadcrumbing, it's very much, all these terms are very much, it came about during the dating app.
Okay.
With Tinder, with Bumble, and all of that. So breadcrumbing is basically you're interested in that person, so you leave sort of small sort of like hints or compliments here and there, like, oh, I miss you, I want you, but then you don't really mean it, because next time it's just like, oh, I found someone else better, so I will ghost you, so breadcrumbing, you leave little breadcrumbs, but you don't give them the whole bread.
Okay, I see.
Yeah, that's what else do we have? We also have
love bombing.
Yes. So we also have love bombing. So love bombing is a manipulative way where partners, they, you think they love you by giving you a lot of love. They compliment you, they give you gifts. And this is especially when you just got to know that person, right? They'd say things like, oh, I miss you, I want to see you, I send you flowers. And then you feel really like, oh my goodness, this
like
person.
being bombed at a very short period of time.
Being bombed for a very short period of time, and you feel loved and everything. And then after a while, when you kind of don't really listen to whatever they say, or maybe you don't say thank you to them, straight away their attitudes change. Suddenly they'd say things like, oh, I gave you all of it, I gave you everything, but you don't appreciate me, you don't listen to me, like you don't even want to tell me who you went out with. This is not good. And suddenly you are tortured,
like overly possessive,
kind of like overly possessive. And then suddenly they will they will say all these mean things to you. They will switch, and then suddenly you start questioning yourself, is there something wrong with me?
Yeah, I'm sure if somebody is like so nice and kind to you and suddenly just being mean to you, sometimes you will also question yourself. I think sometimes I do that also. Sometimes I will also, when somebody's kind of try to manipulate me, then I will also kind of like, am I really the person he say I am?
Yeah.
Right? So, but after asking, reflecting, you need to be confident enough to know that you're not that kind of person, right? So these are quite toxic as well.
Sometimes you feel really off. I remember like I had, and this is not a romantic partner too, so like this was a follower on Instagram who constantly compliments me, who promotes my events and everything. Whenever whenever I have an event, he's constantly commenting saying, Jasmine is the best, Jasmine is this. And then I just felt like very weird. I was like, there's something off about this feeling and emotion. So yeah, it can happen with someone romantically linked to you, or someone who's just a stranger.
So then what happens? This person love bomb you, and
this person love bombed me, and then I found out afterwards that he's actually done this with multiple people. And if he did not get sort of what he wanted, he actually retaliate. He actually sort of say bad things about this person on the internet or all of that. And I was just happy that I got out of him. I just sort of reduced our conversation. I wasn't as approachable. I was still very respectful, but I just didn't want to share a lot about myself. So I had a very strong boundary, and then he sort of back away.
I think that is very important. Like, you know your boundaries well, and you keep it professional and respectful.
Yeah.
Right? So and why do you think these people do things like this? Is it a lot to do with insecurity, or?
I think it's a lot of things. I mean, it's very hard for us to pinpoint why exactly they do that. I think maybe one of it is they just want to show love. They just want to show appreciation, but to a point where they don't know what is healthy or what is unhealthy appreciation.
Or maybe they do something with an expectation of something in return, right?
Correct. So this is a sense of entitlement.
Yeah.
I mean, for a lot of them, they just genuinely want to do it, but then they also don't know certain boundaries. They don't know that some of the things they do is really unhealthy, so sometimes they are not aware of it. So it is our responsibility to, I guess, kind of let them know, especially if you're dealing with them personally, so to let them know. Or sometimes they are just, some of these people are just not really well-meaning. They're actually just bad people.
Okay, so let's do a comparison of healthy relationship. Then we will able to differentiate what is unhealthy and what is healthy. So can we get some opposite example of all this love bombing and
Yeah, so
gaslighting?
unhealthy relationship versus healthy relationship. I think with love bombing, someone who constantly gives you love and support and would just really be up in your face, and and then when you tell them like, oh, this is a bit too much, then they get upset, right? So that's unhealthy. Someone who is healthy, I mean, someone who you are in a healthy relationship with will give you love and support, but also we give you space. Like if you need space, they'll be like, oh yeah, sure, you know, or just text me whenever you're free, or you know, and they don't get upset by the things that you do, and then they kind of try to understand. They don't make it about themselves. They make it about you and listening to you, and they don't get upset easily, you know. And if you're in a healthy relationship, you feel loved, you feel supported, you feel like you have a say, you feel like your boundaries are respected, your consent is heard, and you can thrive and you can grow. If you're in an unhealthy relationship or a toxic relationship, you're constantly feeling like, just like what we were talking about just now, you constantly want to take care of your partner's feelings. You know that everything that you do, you're just going to piss them off, and so either you try to be very careful or you just deliberately piss them off because you're like, I cannot, I have no patience.
Okay, so there's another one called gaslighting, right? So what does that mean?
Gaslighting is basically also manipulation, but in a very, so the way they do it is, have you ever been in a situation where you know nobody is wrong, or maybe that person is wrong, and you try to sort of explain the situation to them, but then what they do is, no, you're wrong. Why are you making this complicated? You know it's your fault. And then like, you know what? It's okay, I don't want to talk about it. And then when you try to sort of still have a conversation, they're like, why? I already ignore it. Why you still want to bring it up? And then suddenly you're like, oh no, am I crazy?
Yeah, so it's like they are making you feel that you have something wrong, right?
Yeah,
like you are overreacting.
You're overreacting. You're like being dramatic. I'm already nice enough to ignore this. I am already nice enough to forgive you, but then here you are making a big scene, and you're just like, no, I'm not making a big scene. I just want to let you know it's not my fault, or it's nobody's fault. So yeah, the moment you start questioning, am I crazy? Is there something wrong? I remember there was this one partner that I had. You know, the main thing that he said was, you know, all the women I date are crazy. And then I was like, oh really? It's like, yeah, like, I don't know, I'm just been unlucky. And then when he gaslit me for the first time, and then when I thought like, wow, I feel like am I going crazy? And then straight away I know already. Oh, so this is why he meant, but all the girls I date are crazy. It's because he's the problem. Like now I know.
So yeah, so any other example in relationship that people you hear or your friends share about all this toxic relationship that is, you think audience should really red flags or what?
Red flags. Red flags is when they do something, but then when you, for example, so you know, when you like pictures on Instagram, for example, or they get really jealous, right? Or why are you looking at that guy? Or why are you looking at that girl? Or you like her, is it? But then when they do the same thing, when they start liking pictures on Instagram of sexy people or whatever, and then you say something about it, and then straight away they're like, yo, why are you so jealous? It's just a picture, what? You know, why are you so sensitive? You know, and then suddenly you're like, but what? Like, you told me not to do it, and now you're doing it too, you know? Or just, you can just really casually just talking like about a previous partner, for example, or maybe someone by the street that you're like, oh, you just look at them, and then straight away, when you know, your partner will go like, oh, you talk about your previous partner, you want her, is it? You wanna whatever with her, you don't want me, right? So you were cheating on me, right? And then suddenly you're like, no, I'm just telling you my experience. It has nothing to do with you.
So I feel that whenever we talk about all these red flags, right, it seems like it's a lot of insecurity. The person is just like so many trigger points, right? Like you do this, trigger him, do that, trigger her, you know. So it's like so much of insecurity in a person. How can we help? If you are in a relationship, you feel that, okay, maybe we should try to help this person, do you think we should help or we should run?
No, I think with anything, especially if you really care for this person, I think just sort of helping them by just having a conversation, trying to understand where they're coming from. You know, like, oh, why do you feel this way? And is it what triggers to you? What's triggering for you? But also at the same time, you know, telling them what is something that is okay for you and what is something that's not okay, right? Like, what is okay behavior, what is not okay, because you also have your boundaries, right? So as much as you're listening to the other person and you're trying to find a compromise, it's also really important that you yourself insert yourself into the conversation and having this boundary and telling them, okay, I hear you, let's find a compromisation, but also this is what I feel we should do for me.
So I think a lot of times, maybe sometimes people don't know better as well, and from their relationship or past relationship or even the way they grew up, maybe they are being gaslighting as well.
Correct.
And that's the only way they know how to communicate. So I think it's really important if your partner are ready to evolve, right? To change and evolve to become a better person. But if this person is always so insecure and not able to evolve, I would think just move on. But if this person is ready to evolve with you, to kind of reflect on themselves and not putting all the blames on you, I think then maybe it's worth to do something about it.
I think, like, I mean, it's very much true with my relationships too. I mean, you know, like, there were times where I would tell them exactly, you know, every time I feel upset or every time they do the same thing that I feel is very unhealthy, is really toxic, I would always tell them. And then, you know, unfortunately for this particular relationship, it was too late. And you know, I was just so done. So I mean, hey, so when any of your partners come up to you and tell you, hey, this is how I feel about this, I think we should work it, just really listen to them and just really, you know, take an active role to sort of change. If it is important for you, but if the relationship is important, then let them go lah. Don't bring them suffer.
It's quite suffer, right?
It's quite kasihan.
So usually for this toxic relationship, do you think how soon or how long does it take to surface?
This is a good one, because most of the time when we get into a relationship, it's like we call it the rose. We are wearing the rose glasses, rose tinted glasses, where everything is perfect. You don't see the red lights, the red flags. I think it's quite tough. I think when you're in the beginning of a relationship, everything is really peachy, everything is perfect.
Honeymoon period.
The honeymoon period. But I think when
you're so forgiving, whatever this person do, it's okay.
And then when someone says something to you, you're just like, you don't know them lah. Like, only I know them personally. But it's really like, I think when it comes to red flags, if you can't see it, if we can't see it, it's really helpful to have friends whenever they come to you and go like, hey, is this normal that like that this person does this? Like, are you comfortable whenever they make a comment? Making a comment is under one. Like saying things like about your body, like, oh, you're so fat, you're so whatever. So if any of your friends suddenly come up to you and say, hey, I think there's something off, that's already like a good indication that, you know, there's something off. And you have to kind of listen to it even though you don't want to. Take into consideration lah, what they say.
But if your friendship is toxic, maybe every man you date is like not good. Then how?
Right? So like then that's where you need to ask other friends. So if this one particular friend is like, every guy also got something wrong, and then you ask your family, you ask your other friends and go like, hey, is it true? This is the type.
I think a lot of times in our life we should get advice from different people on different part of our life, right? So some people might be very good in their career, then you can ask that particular person about career advice rather than relationship advice. That person might not be good with relationship advice. Then get somebody who are good in relationship. Don't get somebody who are also in a toxic relationship and get their advice. Usually not a good move.
It's kind of like the blind leading the blind.
So I think getting advice from who is also very important. So sometimes we always think that if somebody physically abuse me, it's considered abuse. But if that person don't physically abuse me, mentally abuse, is it considered abuse?
Yeah.
As well? Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I think when it comes to sort of abuses or just feeling like you're unheard or feeling like you're hurt, right? I think physical abuse is what we're used to, but actually there's so much more. There's mental abuse. There's also financial abuse. Have you ever heard of that?
Okay.
Financial abuse is when a partner or a spouse or a partner actually do not give you money or will take away your money, will limit your spending, you know, so they have some sort of control over you.
Okay.
There's also stalking as
Stalking,
well.
okay.
Stalking on social media, and this could be from like a partner stalking you, from an ex stalking you, from a stranger stalking you too. I mean, these are different forms of abuses.
I think financial abuse is very common, but not talked about.
Yes.
Right? So maybe somebody actually, like what you say, they usually like they use your money or
And never pay back.
and never pay back and things
And then
like
get angry at you when you ask for the money back, right?
that. And it's like your fault for begging back the money. Right? And they
Yes.
make you
Suddenly it's like uncomfortable. It's like, hey, but it's my money, what? I work hard for it, what? You know?
And the worst thing is, I heard a lot of time, especially in the social media world, right? You owe somebody's money, but you're buying the latest iPhone.
Yes, I know this very true. Like, this is very familiar territory. I mean, you know, yeah, it just.
So is that considered financial abuse?
I think that's just taking advantage on someone, right?
Okay. So then you're talking about stalking. Stalking. You think in a long-term relationship, if the person controls you so much, like checking you where you go by checking your MySejahtera apps. That's what I heard.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Right? So nowadays people don't check in every place they go on their Facebook or Instagram, right? So maybe your MySejahtera is the thing that you are going to check in every time you go. So I heard people saying like the husband checking on the MySejahtera and asking, why did you go to this cafe?
Yeah, why did you go to this cafe? Or checking through your messages, seeing your pictures, asking you, who is this person, who's that person, everything, you know?
So do you think it should be like, if you have nothing to hide, it's always like that. If you have nothing to hide, you should let me check. So so that's usually what your partner will say. So what do you think?
I think that's just a very manipulative behavior.
Okay.
I think like in any healthy relationship, there should be a sense of like, there should be boundaries first and foremost. There should be a sense of privacy too. I mean, you are in a relationship with someone. It doesn't mean that you are constantly, you're attached by the hip, that you have to tell them every single thing. You know, you can just sort of have your own space, even within the house, have your own space, have your own alone time. You don't have to do everything together. Same goes to your phone, same goes to whoever you're talking to. They have no right. Of course, if they have suspicion and then they just kind of want to talk to you about it at one time, like, hey, I just feel really insecure. I feel, could you like sort of, you know, let me know, is this what's happening within our relationship? Sure. And then talk to them, and then if you kind of want to show them like, hey, you know, as proof, just to give them a peace of mind, and then they just completely ignore that, and then I'm like, okay, done, I'm done.
So I think that is important, right? Like when you're in a relationship, when your partner not trusting you and they just want to check your phone that one time, I think it's reasonable if they are suspicion, right? Because you're the partner. But if they're constantly checking on your phone, violating your privacy, then that might not be okay.
Yeah. I mean, it's the same thing with like, you know, parents and everything. I mean, you don't let them check. I mean, there's a sense of privacy. I think it's the same thing with partners as well. Like, you know, I have huge issues with partners. I have this thing where I actually don't like it when people ask me, so what time you're coming back?
Okay.
You know, like my partners will be, what time are you coming back? No, I just care about you. And for the most part, they do. But if it's something that you're uncomfortable with, then tell them like, actually, I don't need you to check me, honey. I'm like also an adult.
So I think a lot of times it's all about who you are and what type of people is compatible to you. So I always think that if a partner who is so insecure, right, and you know that you're going into a relationship with this person who is so insecure, and you know you need to always over communicate with this person, and you know this is the package that you go into, because this person takes time to, I don't know, maybe because of the cheating or whatever that she experienced, she become very insecure. So I think a lot of times you need to know what type of relationship you're going into. And if you think, I don't want to handle people who are insecure, not mature, then you need to know that what type of person you should look for, right? Someone that is matured, that is feeling secure and can trust you, then find a person who is that way.
Yeah.
And I would also think, if you wanted to sleep around, then maybe you should set the relationship clear.
Yes.
Like,
Expectations.
I wanted to be in an open relationship.
Yeah.
Right? I think it's always about faking it, or you're lying about who you are and what you want. So sometimes if you want to be in an open relationship, look for people who agrees into an open relationship, and not lie to a person who actually wants a monogamous relationship, and later find out, and that will actually hurt both parties, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I completely echo that. I think they are always like, we all have different personalities, and just because I am not, for example, for me, like I was talking just now, I don't like to be checked on all the time.
Yeah.
So just because I don't like being checked on all the time, who's to say that the other person, like another woman, likes that sort of, I want you to check up on me.
Some women like that because they feel like, oh, he's so in love with me.
Like he cares me, he was checking with me. Again, like what we were talking about, the languages, the 5 love languages, what is your love language?
So I think when we talk about toxic relationship, not being the authentic self and faking it and manipulating other person is also toxic, right?
Not being you because sometimes we talk so much about the other person, we talk so much about the other person being manipulative, the other person doing all of that, but also we also wouldn't realize that we're also toxic, that we can also be manipulative. So it's just really being mindful, whatever we're doing, like, wait, is this healthy? Am I looking at this healthily? Am I obsessing over this person? Am I making this person's life harder? I think this was something that I personally had reflections on as well. I mean, with my previous partners as well, sometimes, we fight so much, and then I had to take a step back and go like, wait, is it me? And then if you realize that it is you, then you sort of, kind of work yourself to change that and to have this more healthier sort of relationship.
And do you think people who are more successful and good looking can actually be more manipulative?
Potentially. It's very tough to say. I think, anybody can be anybody.
So I, because recently we have this case where this Wang Li Hong and the wife, right? So I would think he is so kind of also a bit manipulative, because he, in one way he's saying that I want a family, but in another way he says I want the freedoms to have whatever relationship I want. So is this also considered manipulative?
I think he's just unsure what he wants.
Okay.
I think it's okay to have both.
Okay.
You want to have a family, but you also want to sort of explore. I think if he had a conversation with his wife saying, hey, I want an open marriage.
Okay.
Would you like to explore an open marriage, and so on and so forth, then it could be like a very healthy conversation to have. It could be a healthy relationship to have. But because I feel like maybe he sort of want it all, but also don't want to be really honest about it, because also of his celebrity status, that's when it just became very quite like unhealthy, and it's taking advantage of the partner, unfortunately.
Sure. I think being honest with your partner and have this tough conversation is really important, because if you are telling this partner that you want a family, you are loyal to this person, and you are doing another thing, and this person will be badly hurt.
Yeah, you kind of, you lost their respect, you lost their sense of, safety around you. So, and it's very fair to say that sometimes when you're in a long-term relationship, when you're so used to a particular type of relationship, a particular type of conversation, suddenly you switch into like, oh, I want this and this and this. It can be very daunting. It can be very like, oh, how do I actually have this conversation? You know what, might as well I don't have this conversation. I just go out there and just do whatever I want to do, right? And hope I don't get caught. But hey, you might get caught.
You will, especially in such a transparent world, right? Nowadays, social media and such a transparent world, not being the authentic self, people will know it, right? If you try to fake it, right? So, do you think there are also people who are in a toxic relationship but not realizing it?
For sure. For sure. I think because sometimes when you're in a relationship that is toxic but you don't realize it, of course, like you're deep within that relationship. There's this, I can't remember what's the syndrome called, where for example, the person kidnapping another person, and then the victim, instead of wanting to, what's that? I can't remember what's the syndrome. It's actually like an actual thing.
I know, like they're in love to the kidnapper kind, because they think that this is their safe space.
Yeah, in some way. So like,
so they treat the abuser as their safe
the guardian or anything like that. So I think in some ways, if you're in an abusive or in an unhealthy or toxic relationship, you empathize, I think, with a person. You kind of love them in that way, and then you kind of get blinded that you're actually in an unhealthy relationship. So it's very much real. As and until you realize that this is actually not healthy and you need to do something about it, and then only would you change, because otherwise you'll forever be in this space.
This is especially true for children, right? If you are grow up in a very toxic environment and relationship, they wouldn't know they are actually in a very toxic environment.
They wouldn't know unless they look at other people and go like,
When they start to grow up, comparison.
Correct.
Why do I feel this all the time?
Well, why is that? My friend's father not screaming at them, and then my dad always scream at me, and very, very, and all of that stuff. And then they start to like realize that there's something off.
True. So, do you have any personal stories to share?
I mean, there are so many personal stories. I think, the ones that I've shared previously about like partners. So I think one of it also, dealing with a partner who is insecure is also like a really tough thing, because it's really tough for us to have a conversation whenever I get upset. It's very tough for us to have a conversation of why I'm upset without making it about them. Because someone who is insecure, someone who is also has narcissistic tendencies sometimes, probably also has depression, they're very critical of themselves. And so one way is, it's either they just feel really guilty and just say, blame me for everything, like sure, I'll take it, I'm a horrible boyfriend or like whatever, or they will fight. So when they fight, it's a lot to do. They will say all these things just to hurt you. And so I think those are the things that I straight away like, this doesn't feel right in my body, and I think after I got out of that relationship, I went into another relationship where I just told them why I'm upset, and I was very scared to tell them why I'm upset, because what if they hurt me back by saying all these words, right? But I told them that I was upset, and they were like, okay, why are you upset? Okay, all right, I won't do it anymore. And I'm like, is that easy? Like, I don't have to cry, I don't have to make a scene, so it's definitely like a huge reflection now that I'm out of that relationship.
Okay, so these are also sometimes a process of discovery, right? So as you go through some relationship, you realize actually certain things should not be so dramatic, and you need to make a scene to make your point.
Yes, that was the big one. Like, I constantly have to make a scene to make a point, and it's so exhausting.
True.
Why can't I just tell you this, I'm upset? Or sometimes I'm just complaining normally. I'm not even complaining about him. And then suddenly it became about him, and then suddenly I have to, it's tiring.
So do you think two healthy person, when they enter a relationship, the relationship can be also toxic because of uncompatibility?
That's an interesting way of looking at it.
Okay.
I think it's also like healthy. The word healthy is also very subjective. It's very different for different people. So I don't know. I mean, it could be a possibility. We never know. Once we're super comfortable, I would like to think that it's not going to happen. That it's going to be healthy. But yeah, you never know.
But I think low chances, because healthy adults are usually more reasonable. They have better state of mind. So I think there's
I think it's very it's very low. I think if both of you are respectful towards each other, if both of you understand boundaries, and both of you have conversation and hold space for each other, I don't think why it won't be a healthy relationship at the end of the day.
Okay. So of course we always talk from the point of view of female, right? We always say, oh, you're in a toxic relationship. How about men? Do you think they will be also in a toxic relationship?
Oh yeah. Yeah, definitely. Like, I mean, anybody could be in a toxic relationship, whether it be men or women. The thing about men, I think, and this is from, you know, the men that I talk to in my life, like friends and everything, sometimes they don't even know that they're in a toxic relationship because they probably were not informed. You know, I think when we were younger, it's always like, it's always a precaution to the girls, you know, take care of yourself, don't let this boy do this, do that, you know. For the men, for the boys, we don't have this sort of discussion, you know. We don't tell boys like, you need to be careful because there are some girls out there who are like this. I actually had a friend who was in a very abusive relationship where the partner was constantly hitting him, was constantly shouting at him, screaming and asking him where he's going, where he's from, you know. And it took him a long time. I mean, yeah, I think it took him a while to get out of the relationship because he wasn't sure. And he didn't have anyone
I think especially physical abuse. You heard it so much about women getting physical abuse, and actually there are also men out there who is getting physical abuse, right?
100%.
And men are not allowed to talk about it. Imagine how are they going to tell their friends, oh, I'm being hit by my wife, right? So like they will suppress it because they also feel embarrassed to talk about it. So I think it will be more tough for a man. And we women is like, oh, when we gather, we will talk about our husband, all the bad habits and things like that. So we are more expressive. But a lot of time men, when they sit together, hardly they will talk about relationship. So I would also think men sometimes suffer in silence. Of course, physical abuse is easier to know about it because somebody is hitting you. But mental abuse, sometimes you just don't know.
Don't know.
And when you're in that relationship for so long, you're being abused for, I have seen people who are being abused for 20, 30 years.
It's been hurt for such a long time.
And suddenly they just realize, okay, and you know, nowadays we live so much more longer. You know, I think the old times is like, oh, if I'm married to this person, I'm just stuck with this person. And I just hope that either I die first or this person die first so that I don't suffer anymore. But nowadays, because we live up to 90s, even 100, right? So if you are having a shitty relationship at 50, you will still think that, oh, do I really want to live another 30 years or 40 years with this person, which is so toxic?
Agree.
Okay, so what can we do to get out from this toxic relationship?
What can we do to get out from this toxic relationship? The first thing is to acknowledge that it's toxic, to acknowledge that it's toxic, and to admit to yourself. Because I think most of the time, sometimes we know that it's toxic, sometimes we know there's something wrong with this relationship, but we are very scared to admit to ourselves, right? Sometimes we're like, oh, but he's such a nice person. Why? He's done this and this like this.
He loved me so much.
He loved me so much. He's done this. He's the father of my child, you know, and all that stuff. But you know what it is, especially with parents. So I come from a divorced parent, you know. I'm a child of a divorced parent, mother and father. And I also see other people in my lives who, you know, I was lucky, and I say this with full conviction, that I was lucky that my parents divorced when I was really young. Because when we think about divorces, we think about like, oh, it's not good for the child. Maybe wait until they're older. But here's the thing: if you wait until they're older, they will see all of the unhappiness that you have in your relationship, all of the fights that you have, and you know, like, and it's really upsetting as a child to see your parents being so unhappy. And I've seen this in, you know, people in my lives where where they are in a relationship, the parents are in a relationship for 20, 30 years, and you see the children just suffering, having depression, having sort of all of this insecurities.
And you might also set a different expectation about relationship and love.
Correct.
You know, because I have seen people who think that, you know, in a marriage, I don't need love because my parents are not loving. You know, they just tolerate each other.
Yeah.
So marriage is all about compromise and tolerate. So it's also what they witness when they grow up, right?
Yeah. And it's, of course, like we can say it's easier said than done,
Yeah,
you know,
true.
divorce is such a huge thing. But I mean, but if you're constantly going back to like, I'm thinking about the kids, that's why I want to stay together. I want them to have a mother and father. Yes, but wouldn't you want them to have a happy mother and father?
Yeah.
So acknowledging that there is something wrong, admitting to yourself there's something wrong, and sort of, you know, taking that steps to go out there and just to sort of, if you need to fight for the relationship, if you want to fight for the relationship, go fight for it. But if you feel like you're already at the end of the relationship, then
Sure. And I would think, you know, separation doesn't mean that you can't co-parent, right? You still can co-parent. It's just that you might not be in a romantic relationship with your partner anymore. Sometimes it's even better because you all have grew apart or things like that, but you can still co-parent your kids. So I think in this modern world, co-parenting, healthy co-parenting can happen, and sometimes you can see that people are better off when they are not
when they're just
couple.
friends. As friends, as
less
co-parents.
Expectation and less toxic as well.
Don't wait until, I think as with any relationship, don't wait until it becomes really, really bad for you to take a step to sort of change your life, right? Like, because a lot of the times cheating happens when you are so unhappy that you just kind of want to, you know, suppress everything. And what is going to happen is that you're just going to bring trauma to the relationship. So before you even go towards cheating, you know, really understanding if this is not what you want, then get out of the relationship for yourself and for your partner. It's like a sign of respect. I think that was my main thing with my previous relationship. I didn't want us to be extremely toxic. I didn't want myself to be extremely unhappy. It was really uncomfortable to have the breakup conversation. But, you know, I knew if I didn't break up now, I would lose respect over this person. And this person would lose respect, and it's going to be traumatic for all parties.
True. I think so. And I think a lot of times, people get out from the toxic relationship and fall back, which is quite common. Why do you think this happens?
Comfort.
Yeah.
I mean, they're just comfortable. It's something familiar. They miss that person, you know. Also, they try to sort of reason within themselves, like, oh, maybe this person will change. I think also like the person who's toxic would also say things like, I will change. I will change for you now, I know better. But then they fall back again doing the same thing. So, you know, it's all of these things, I suppose that's why you kind of come back. Or maybe that person did really change, right? Maybe that person did really have this really a different way of looking at things. They really are working towards making things better for everybody. If that is the case, then by all means go back with them, and that's okay too. It is, at the end of the day, it's your life, it's your relationship. But again, come into the relationship fully eyes open.
I think being conscious is really important, right? So, and also have a good support system. Sometimes when you're just coming out from a relationship, especially a long-term relationship, it's so easy to just fall back. And you're just repeating the cycle again and again, right? So I think if you want to get out from the relationship, make sure your support systems are good. Maybe from your family, from your friends that say, okay, if I were to go back to this relationship, these are the few things we need to solve. Right? Even the guy say, maybe a girl, okay, so we don't want to be biased. So your partner saying that I will change, and make sure they do change a few things before they come back to the relationship. Saying you will change and not change is just...
it's actions. Actions is what is important. Or sometimes you should just take some time apart. You know, go back to your place, go back to their place, or like whatever it is. Taking some time apart and really having
Yeah.
that, I think when it comes to MCO, we're so
Yeah.
stuck with each other all the time. But now that MCO is kind of lifted, if you need some space,
Yeah.
that helps too. I think I
Yeah.
have a friend who's currently going through that with a partner.
Yeah.
They just decided to take a step back, move out of the partner's house, and now I think they're stronger than ever.
Yeah, so because I think, you need to reboot the relationship, that knowing that you are not going back just because of comfort, because of just routine, that you're so used to it, and repeating the same mistake again and again. So,
Yeah.
just stay apart for some time to reflect and to evolve. If the
Yeah.
person doesn't change at all, I don't think, why do you want to go back to a relationship where you already know you are going to repeat the same thing again and again?
Especially if you've already evolved, why be with someone who does not want to evolve? It's the question.
So, are there any organization or groups out there that people can actually look for help when it comes to, wow, I'm in such a toxic relationship and I don't know what to do?
Yeah, I think especially where, like, if for women who are abused, or who is going through a hard time, especially for mothers, there are a few organizations here in Malaysia. I think one of it is AWAM, so All Actions of Women's Society is one of them. There's also Sisters in Islam, to kind of understand the laws, especially the Islamic laws, and how can it protect women, and so they do such a fantastic job. There is also can't remember, there was one more. It is the Women's Aid Organization, so WAO also does a fantastic job in supporting, especially like mothers from abusive relationship or wives.
But so far, there's no organization for men, right?
Unfortunately, I not that I know of. There probably is, but not that I know of, which is really unfortunate. I think we need to have organization for men, just especially for men. I think we need that. We need more conversation on mental health and supporting men.
Yeah, and I also think that men are not having enough conversation on this. I realize that every time I'm with the men group, they are always talking about cars and business. Hardly about relationship or even about emotions, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, this is like a taboo. We don't talk about it. Even sometimes we think that men talk a lot about about sex, but actually no. They're just boasting about it, but they don't talk about the problem that face, what are the challenges they have. They actually don't talk about it. So there are really not much support system in the
Yeah, or maybe sometimes they just don't know what to say, right? Like, it's so great that you brought this up, because I actually had this conversation with a friend last night, with a guy friend of mine, who actually told me just that, like, men don't talk about these things. Men especially don't talk about our insecurities, how we do stuff, we're just, the only thing we talk about, like, oh yeah, like I had sex with this person, it was so good, I smashed them, and I'm like, there's more to that conversation than just what you've successfully gotten. There's also about insecurities and
But
stuff.
I think it's also about normalizing the conversation.
Yes.
Sometimes you might not know what to say, but just saying it out loud, right? Then you will start to know that, what are the things that is okay to share, what are the things that should be boundaries, but talking about it is a first step, I think.
Yes.
Okay, so if you are a friend, what can you do to help this person out from this unhealthy relationship?
Yeah, I think as a step, I would ask myself, what would I want my friends to do if I was in an unhealthy relationship? I think the main one is I would have wanted them to tell me, like, or just ask me question, and like, hey, like, instead of telling me like, hey, I think your boyfriend got something wrong, you shouldn't, like, of course, if you go in that way, I'm going to be very like defensive, and I'm going to be like, oh, you're insulting me and my partner and my selection, so I would have wanted someone to go like, like, your partner has been kind of commenting on your body. Are you okay with that? Like, I'm just asking, like, if like, oh, your partner has been leaving a lot and not telling you where he's going, like, where do you think kind of like having that, and then it kind of makes you think, like, oh yeah, true.
I think even as simple as just asking, are you happy?
Yes.
Yeah. So that they feel safe, that of course it's not that in in a relationship we should be happy all the time, right? But if when we are not happy, we should feel safe to tell somebody, like our friends, close friends.
Yeah.
But a lot of times in society, people will say, mind your own business. Sometimes an example, you saw your friend's husband cheating, and you said, oh, maybe she know, but just don't bring it out. So this is also always a dilemma for many people.
Yes.
That should I tell her or should I not?
Right. Yeah. I think it's a boundary thing, right? You want to have boundary, and you just don't want to, jangan jaga tepi kain orang lain kind of thing. Like jaga your own thing, don't jaga someone else's thing. I think it's very fair, but I think also at the same time, if someone is in trouble, or someone is like, someone that's blatantly in front of you, I think it's very important for us to play an active role, especially if that person is someone you truly care about. It's someone that you're close with. I think it's really fair as a responsibility as a friend to say something about it instead of just ignoring it. But yeah, I would say, I would love to say, like, speak up and just, sometimes instead, even you don't even have to say, like, are you okay, are you happy? Sometimes you can just say, if you want someone to talk to, I'm here.
True. So I think a lot of times, if you're checking out on your friends with the intention of you really care about the person and respect whatever the person choice is, rather than trying to embarrass the person or trying to instill your own perspective or your own ideology to that person. I think also not being judgmental. So I think it's really important to build this type of support system around our friends. I think nowadays there's so much of toxic relationship, and sometimes you're in a toxic relationship without realizing it. So I hope today's Facebook Live will enlighten or give you all some education on what a toxic relationship is all about. Okay, so Jasmine, any final say before we end today's Facebook Live?
Check in on your friends. Is what I would say. Check in on your friends. Check in within yourself as well.
Okay, so thank you. Bye.